Wake up, buyer payer people. It's a beautiful day. Go grab yourself another cup of joe and say hello to Jim and Michelle Rhodes on the Buy Here Pay Here morning show. Take it away, you two.
Good morning. We're happy to have you all here today. It is Wednesday. We just had a lovely weekend and did a pre-recorded broadcast on Monday to wish everybody happy Independence Day. Jim said a couple things about how cool it is to be in Buy Here, Pay Here and be able to be independent and do your thing.
Yeah, and Buy Here, Pay Here, we're the epitome of
Independence.
independence. So, so that was kind of our theme for Monday morning. So if you missed
Yeah.
that, just tune in. That's a real short
It's,
pre-recorded episode.
just thinking about the whole idea of independence, one of the things that we see frequently, because we deal with a lot of different dealers all across the country, and everyone is independent to do their different DMSs, different GPSs, different everything. And so when we go into talk to a new dealer, it's never the same.
Right. That's one of our challenges, but also
Yeah.
opportunities. Everybody
really,
gets to
really
create
is.
what it is they want.
And I think that's one of the things that's really cool about when we get to do that, that we see different ways that people have done things and pick up little nuggets of
Sure.
of great information. It's like, oh,
Right.
never thought of it doing it that way. And it seems to really work well
Yeah,
for you. So
absolutely.
yeah,
So
good
that
stuff.
kind of leads into what our conversation was going to be about today. It's White Hat Wednesday. And so in that theme of kind of doing things the white hat way, or,
Mhm.
what I sometimes call the good guy or the good girl way, we
Good
just,
person.
yeah, there
Yeah.
we go. We can say the good person way. But yeah, it's just kind of about how to, improve the customer experience, how
Yeah.
to make sure, and ultimately, if we can have happier dealers, happier employees, happier customers, that's the best
Oh
possible
my
outcome.
gosh. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So we'll
Win, win, win.
talk today about what we call customer advocacy, and this is kind of our own brainchild. This is something we came up with and introduced with a client
Yeah, we've
last year.
teased it a couple of times.
Yeah, we've talked about it a little bit on the show. I just thought we'd take today to kind of dive in deep and help people understand specifically what it is we're referring to. I see Bill Elizondo has
Yeah,
joined
he's
in.
here in Salt Lake. Oh, that's by the way, guys. We're all in Salt Lake
Yeah.
today. So
Windy Salt Lake City today. So.
where we're at least, it's windy. But yeah. So
Right.
good morning, Bill.
Yeah. Hi, Bill. And for those of you who chime in, we would want you to let us know what state you're listening from. We'd like to hear from you and find out what's happening out there.
Yeah. And before we really dive into the topic, those of you who excuse me, have been watching what Jim and I have been doing over the last couple of years, we did this long queso tour, which is still unofficially going. And if we come across a really great queso, you'll see it on Facebook. But we started a smoked old-fashioned tour. And what's been fun is that Bill has joined us for
Right.
a few of those, and we're getting together tonight. He happens to be in Salt Lake as well, so getting together tonight to
We
find a
invite
place.
the rest of you to jump on that bandwagon with us, because that is a fun drink for anybody who enjoys a bourbon with a little bit of a smoky.
Not smoke flavoring,
Right.
because you can add like a liquid smoke or something like that. This is where they actually burn things.
Right. And introduce that smoke into your drink.
Oh
And
my
wow,
gosh,
what
so
a rich
good.
experience.
So
Yeah, it's really
good.
amazing. So we look forward. We actually look like we'll have an opportunity to share one of those with Bill this evening.
Yep.
So
Yep.
look forward to that. And so, yeah, he's here in Utah for a stretch. And so we're going to get a chance to sync up with him tonight. So look forward to that.
So back to our topic of a customer advocate. And we have teased that before as we've talked about some of the challenges that we've seen in different dealerships, and that we're always trying to teach to make the customer experience as positive as possible, give them all the opportunities to be successful, and really help them to strive towards that. And this is when we came up with this, or when Jim originally wrote the document for the job description. We had a client, and they were having a lot of struggles with trying to keep on top of schedules and just juggling all of the needs of their of their clients. This is primarily in a shop.
Right. Yeah. And they had a pretty, well-established business, over 15 years in business, probably 2,000 accounts. And so they, they had a
Yeah.
good sized mature operation and had some struggles. I think what we're going to talk about today, I would say, even though it's probably best suited to introduce as a full-time position in a well-established operation, if we think about the concepts that go around this customer advocacy, then we can start to implement those things
Yeah.
even in the very earliest stages of our business and think ahead to how we want to move in that direction. But the concept is going to apply.
Yeah.
The benefits are going to apply regardless of the size of the operation. So maybe I'll just dive in and explain kind of what that role came about as a way to think about somebody who's really on the customer's side. And in particular, there were a couple of advantages or things that we were trying to solve in this one step. One of the things we see, and some of you can chime in if you're listening in today, please, confirm for us. I didn't get a chance to throw a poll out there on Facebook, but we know that we see out there on, in our own travels that in a lot of collections departments, the collectors end up getting bogged down. A lot of their time each day or each week ends up getting consumed with kind of the big stuff like accidents and dealing with insurance claims and kind of working through that stuff. Obviously, mechanical things can definitely, we know that if the car's not running, the customer doesn't want to make payments. And so that ends up kind of complicating our collections process. So one of the big motivations behind creating this customer advocate position was to start to pull those things into a central sort of person. And we started out with just one person in this role, with this operation that we're talking about. And it's the idea is to have somebody on your team who is not employed by the collection department. They don't, in my approach, they wouldn't report to the collection supervisor. They wouldn't report to the sales manager. They might not even report to the general manager. They might report directly to the dealer. But the idea is to have this person be an advocate for the customer. Obviously, they're acting in the interest of the dealership or the company as they do that, but they're really just trying to assist the customer through the tough stuff and through the stuff that consumes a lot of time.
Uh-huh.
And so now, when you think about this person, they're not, if you think about, and this is again something we've not seen out there, we just kind of created the concept because we felt like it was a way to solve multiple problems, in one sweep, or one pass. But basically, we're suggesting that this person is able to take on those situations as a customer advocate with, let's just pick mechanical problems. If the customer's got routine mechanical problems, then we just want to bring that off of the collectors and have the customer advocate focus on those things and let the collectors focus on what they need to do, which is getting the payments in from the regular, situations with regular customers. And so that's kind of the process as we've seen it. So those of you who are listening, and if you might just confirm that this problem that I'm describing is a very real problem of collectors getting bogged down each day. I mean, a certain amount of their work each week is tied up in accident claims, might be warranty claims. It's going to be, repair matters, cars not running. And so that's really, if we think about it, that's not really the role of a collector. Now we ask collectors to support that, but that's really not where they're most effective and where they can do us the most good. Now, if we have somebody dedicated to do that position, then now that person can just be on the customer side and be out there working to try to get the thing resolved as expediently as possible. And ideally, this person would also have a fair amount of authority to resolve
Or
things
at
quickly.
least tools that they can use to resolve
Correct. Yeah.
to resolve issues quickly. And we noticed that a lot of customers, when they get when they're having problems, if they haven't on their own developed a relationship with your collection department of one of helpfulness and service, and that they trust them, that having someone that's not in collections that they can call if they're having a problem, that they can call if they need some assistance, is really a beneficial thing, because it's separating the two in some way that a lot of the customers will feel a little bit more at ease with chatting with them. And we've also suggested with some of our clients that the customer advocate potentially be part of the closing of a loan in a way where they're just introduced. Hey, this is your person. This is, if you've got any thing that's happening that you might need some assistance with or whatever, this is your person. Shaking your hand, like shaking hands, looking at each other in the eye, and just starting that relationship, because most of your customers, they know the salesperson,
Right.
and then they talk to collections over the phone.
Mhm.
Unless there's, especially today
Sure.
when a lot of people are doing ACH, or they don't come in to the dealership like they used to. Um, yeah,
Right.
this.
So there's another piece of this. There's actually a couple pieces. We were in a dealership not long ago where someone said to us that when there's a repair matter on a car, that the customers tend to call the salesperson that they dealt with, and that's
Mhm.
because that's really the only person they know, at the operation. Well, that's the problem we need to kind of work to correct, because the salesperson is really not the person. That salesperson should be free to go out and greet customers and to do the job that they
Mhm.
have to do on the sales side. And so they really shouldn't be probably tangled up in account matters. They can be friendly and pass them on through, but the idea is to have that person, have that. But also what you touched on is there's the whole customer engagement piece of this. So
Yes.
big. And we introduced
And
this idea at the BHPH United Summit back in April. We talked about, we introduced it with a client last year, but we talked about it in our
yeah.
session at BHPH United. And this is part of what we're trying to achieve is, if you think about this customer advocate, ideally that person would also be able to create a lot of customer engagement. And I'm talking about goodwill events. They could be educational events. It could be whatever you might think of that might keep your customers engaged and foster the relationship with the
Mhm.
customer.
Yeah, and be that person. One of the things that we were asked at Buy Your Payer United was, in the world of ACH, how do
Mhm.
you keep people engaged? And one of the things that we discussed was potential of a newsletter or something like that is going to the customer frequently, and it could be a text blast of some kind that has a link to a newsletter. But that could be one of the assignments of the customer advocate, is to create those things. And then that's part of what they do, because as we travel around, we see that a lot of dealerships, they struggle with that part.
Right,
It's like we have got collections down.
right,
We have got sales process down, but they just are struggling with being able to engage their customers, especially in this digital world.
right.
And this is, and so dealers try to take that on, another hat that a
Mhm.
dealer tries to take on,
Sure.
to be that person. And this is just a really beautiful, uh, this is just a really beautiful way for us to be able to now have a full spectrum of this. This is how we help the customer.
Right.
Yeah.
So let's talk about, what do we really lump into the umbrella of engagement? It's really whatever we can come up with. It can be through social media, it
Mhm.
can be newsletters, but ideally that's going to include some level of face-to-face interaction. Maybe it's, videos incorporated into an email. The idea is really this, that if before a customer faces any sort of a crisis, mechanical problem, major setback, that there's some level of what Michelle and I often call equity. But, if you think about equity in a relationship, it's like some level of goodwill and trust and some level of, we know one another, we have comfort with one another, so that I can feel like if you're my customer advocate, I feel like I already know you, I already trust you, I feel like I can speak to you about whatever's going on, and I can count on you to be on my side and work through whatever, because I've already created that in our relationship, or that you've already created it
Mhm.
as an advocate. So that's kind of what we're suggesting is, we need to work to foster that relationship so that when there is a crisis, we already know each other. There's some level of confidence in that that the dealership or the company is going to be there to support the customer. And so that just, we can't just say it, we have to show it. And so this whole thing of engagement is just an ongoing effort to demonstrate to the customers that we're there to support them. And now you begin to see how this saves charge offs. We solve problems more quickly. mechanical,
Mhm.
accidents. We solve problems more quickly. We get the customer back on the road. We start to reduce our charge-offs. You also begin to see how we improve employee morale through having, this kind of solution on our team. Now collectors aren't bogged down with that stuff that really is weighs on them. It really kind of adds a lot of frustration to their day. And so by bringing somebody on who's really got some equity in the relationship, can act to solve the problems quickly, that's kind of where that belongs. So it's almost like a separate department, it's
But they're
but it
still really teaming with
sure,
collections in the
sure.
whole process because, you don't want anyone in the team to be the bearer of
Yeah.
bad news
No, of
or
course.
but and so this kind of just adds a little bit of a buffer to your collectors because they're already bogged down with, like
Right.
Jim said, with some of the really hard stuff, the day-to-day stuff. And
And
this is
this can also be anything that's when we say hard stuff, this can be the especially challenging, time consuming things in the collection department.
and dealers, you all know you have
Oh
those.
yeah, they're out there.
Yeah.
So whatever that looks like, if it's somebody dealing with a job change, or they're dealing with some sort of, major financial setback, or even if it's some personal, traumatic thing that's happening in their world, if you can take that out of the collection department, if I'm a collector and I can say, man, I'm sorry to hear that you're dealing with that. That you remember that you met Michelle on our customer advocate team. You remember meeting her at the picnic or whatever. How about I have connect you with Michelle and see what she can do to help you? And then, as a collector, I can I can approach it with empathy. I can, put you in the hands of somebody who also cares about your situation, and I can go back to the work that is my daily work.
That is the foundation of how your entire dealership
Yeah.
runs.
And so
Yeah.
now we've got that ability to kind of centralize those things. So I really recognize that some of you would be hearing this and saying, I'm not big enough. I don't have a large enough, we don't have enough revenue, or cash flow to justify adding that position. And I would just say, you're doing that work already,
You
we
really
hope.
are.
And if you're not doing that work, you're paying a price in terms of charge off. So I would say, think about that part of it. If you added this person and they could save, one or two charge offs a month, that alone pays, the cost of having them in there. And like I said, it really is going to probably promote longevity in your collection department, and other areas. So this is why we really think this is an important concept to introduce and make sure people out there listening recognize the value of having this person be separate from the collection department. Their role is to advocate on behalf of the customers, solve problems quickly, and to create a relationship with the customer before there's ever a crisis. That I think is one of the biggest parts of this, is just have a relationship and have the customer understand that you really are on their side, because we all try to say it, but this is a way to show it and have people, dedicated to it.
And I know for me, who enjoys a good party or picnic or
Yeah.
all of those kind of things, there really is a lot of value. And I know, again, speaking with a lot of dealers that we chat with at conferences or that engage us, is that when we speak about doing things in the community to engage, they get really excited and then they start thinking about, oh, criminy, how am I going to do that on top of all of the other things? Or, because it's a new thing. This is really, really a great way of being able to assist in that. But uh, there's a lot of equity. We talk about the equity piece. There's a lot of equity that's built with your customers when you are doing things outside of collecting on their note. When you are engaging them in ways outside of making a collection call or just taking their money, when they feel when they're invited to go to like a picnic or some kind of a community service project that you're inviting all your customers to participate in, or a Christmas party, or there's a slew of different things that a dealership can do. And it really, if you have someone that's on your team that their purpose is to really help engage and find ways to be able to create relationships with your customers outside of just the day-to-day collections. We speak frequently about becoming an asset to your customer and your community. And this is a really great way to be able to have those responsibilities, that there is a person that is responsible for these things within your team that can really start to engage beautifully with your customers. And if you want like a list of ideas or whatever, we have come up with just so many, um, some of them harebrained maybe, but just a lot of different ideas of there's a lot of stuff out there that are easy lifts, light
Yeah.
lifts to medium lifts to heavy lifts. It just kind of depends on, your community, your bandwidth as a dealership, your budgets, all of those things. But there's a lot of opportunity out there. Even I think one of the ones that we talked about recently is doing something. A lot of places will do a barbecue, a burger, a hot dog, whatever, and then they may say, hey, it's just an awful lot of bandwidth to be able to do that. Have you guys ever seen food trucks?
Yeah.
There's a lot of food trucks out there, and even just getting a food truck, say, hey, we have a corner of our lot that you can come out and set up every Friday
Right.
from X to X and come out and set your signs up, which is going to drive traffic to your
Sure.
to your lot. And then if you have customers, let them know in a newsletter, say, hey, swing on in and we'll give you a coupon for a free taco.
Yeah. Let me back up and talk about a couple of things. We have a few more minutes here. We try to keep
Got a
our
lot
broadcast
of-
around 30 minutes. So, yeah, you can check in on the comments while
Hugo's in too,
Yeah.
and thanks
Good morning,
for
Hugo.
Yeah.
And so we also want to talk about this idea that a couple concepts. So let me try to tie them together here. So if you think about at our BHPH United presentation, the question from the audience was, how do we, how do you handle this matter of lots of ACH payments and automatic payments and, debit cards on file and online payments. That is part of how our world is changing. And, and I told this person, if I were to answer in a word, it's engagement. You have to create the engagement with your customer. And I'm really talking about face-to-face engagement and dialogue. And then tied to that, I've shared, and some of you will appreciate this. Bill Elizondo, you've been around this business a long time. You're somebody who would, be able to confirm the things that I'm talking about. I tell dealers when they're brand new to buy here, pay here. So one of the things that would be most instructive for you, if I could deposit you for an afternoon near the payment counter, and most of our dealers do still see some payments in cash, but on a Friday afternoon, if you could hang around the payment counter and listen to the customers come in and make their payments and just listen to the dialogue, the conversations that happen between the customer and the cashier or the collector or even the salesperson that they know. If you could just kind of be dropped into that place where you could listen to those conversations, the very real conversations that happen between us and our customers, then you would get a better taste of what it's going to mean to be a buy here, pay here dealer, especially a buy here, pay here dealer who's going to enjoy long-term sustained success in this business and have repeat business, referral business. You really need to first kind of understand that, like, what's the fiber of this relationship? And so these are the things that I don't hear talked about nearly enough. Like, this is something that we need to get inside that and understand that. And now anything that we can do to create engagement that allows us to facilitate those conversations, get face to face with people, demonstrate to them that we are empathetic, that we do care about their success. And now you begin to connect the dots on how something like this advocacy, if this advocate can be both a problem solver and an event creator.
Well, yeah, an
You know?
engagement creator.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the things that Jim and I, those of you who know that we are kind of newlyweds.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Couple years,
it's
yeah.
a couple years, but we have a wealth of experience from life, and one of the things that we really set ourselves to do was to create equity in our relationship. And this is something that we've found, little things that we can do for each other, or that will create drops in this bank of equity for our relationship. And that the more drops you have in this bank of equity in your relationship,
Call it deposits.
The more you have to draw upon when there are hard conversations to have. And, we found that just works so lovely. We have different rituals, like coffee time is a ritual for us. Another one that we do, I'm not saying do this with your customer, but I'm just talking about in a relationship, is that every time Jim helps me, opens a car door, and every time I sit down, he leans in for a quick peck, just a quick kiss. And it's like the world stops for a second. We engage with each other, and then he goes around the other side. But and like, again, I'm not saying that you do that with your customer every time they come up to do
Yeah.
a payment at the window, but I hope that you can kind of see that when we create opportunities to connect with our customer outside of collection calls,
Right.
when we create those opportunities to be able to celebrate the things with them, to be able to have fun with them, break bread with them. How many times have you heard that all you got to do is break bread with someone, for like a new business engagement or whatever? And it's like, it creates some kind of like connection, a bond of some kind. And so if you do that with your customers, if you're creating that equity with your customers by having the opportunities to engage with them when they have problems, when
Right.
they are unable to make their payment or whatever, you are more likely to have them call you as someone that they know will be sitting on the same side of the table as they are and ask for help.
Yeah. And so we see out there and we probably need to start moving toward wrapping up here, but we see out there on social media the dealers that are out there talking about customers in a really kind of a hostile and negative way. And it just kind of feels like, that it's almost adversarial between the customer and the dealer. Like they just are kind of expecting the customer to screw up. They're waiting for the customer to screw up. They're looking for techniques on ways to, repossess cars and whatever. And it's like there's just kind of a disconnect there. It's like, it's like why the animosity and frustration? I can't make a dealer care about their customers, but if a dealer genuinely cares about their customers, I can certainly help teach them ways. And we hope this morning we've helped introduce some ways that, you can start to actually have an impact, have a better connection with your customers, reduce your charge offs, increase your customer retention or rollover, as I call it, customers buying the next car from you
Absolutely.
as well. So now you've got retention, you've got referral business, and that's the best scenario. Making those little deposits, getting to know the customer, creating a real relationship. And in this day of ACH and online payments, it's
It's
even more
essential.
important. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so essential because we don't have that week.
Right.
Every week they're coming in to make their payment, and you
Right.
get to see their face and remember who they are, because how many of us in this day of ACH, we we wouldn't know
Yeah.
if this person has been with us for 4 years, if they've
Sure.
always, or 3 years, if they've always made their payment and on time or whatever. And even the best paying customer hits roadblocks. So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
So we hope you folks are enjoying this, and we appreciate you indulging us as we kind of go through this concept, because these kind of soft
Yeah.
concepts are what Michelle and I call squiggly lines. There's things in buy here, pay here that are very black and white, policies and procedures.
Mhm.
This is
Oh,
not
and
in
we
that
are
category.
advocates for that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you got to have that. But also what we see is that having these understanding about these things it helps you to better write your policies and procedures. When
Uh-huh.
you can recognize the importance of these kind of things, now you can construct your business in a way that it can
Mhm.
better meet the customer's needs, keep the customer, solve their problems. And there's nothing that we talked about here that doesn't have the customer still be held accountable. They're still going to need
Oh,
to do their
yeah.
part. There's nothing I'm
Oh,
suggesting here
yeah.
that doesn't mean that, but it's just we now have a way to step in and do our part to help them through whatever's going on. So again, we hope you
Absolutely.
enjoyed
Yeah.
the topic, and by all means, throw
Mm.
your comments in there.
Yeah, and if there's ever anything that we can help with, feel free to give us a call. Or to reach out via private or messenger or
Sure.
whatever. We've helped dealers install this kind of role within their
Mhm.
dealerships, and and we've got a lot of resources that can help in and ideas. We're always coming up with ideas about things, fun things that you can do, and would love to put together maybe someday just this running list of people saying this worked for us, this worked for us, because we are all in this thing together, and if we can help each other and help create a better experience for our customers, because we should be acting as an asset to your community and to your customer.
Yeah.
And that's
Michelle and I are
makes our jobs
totally,
easier.
we're totally subscribed to the idea that all ships rise, and that's within
Absolutely.
our industry. That's with other vendors and providers, but it's also customers and their, dealers and their customers. We know that everybody can benefit in that relationship, and we certainly want to support that. One quick thought on this: we've already written with a couple of clients this customer advocate job description. So if anybody has an interest in exploring that as a position and want to just, if you'll just send us your email, we'll be happy to share the job description that we've already kind of laid out for that role. And so that may be a good starting point for anybody that's interested in pursuing that further.
All right. Well, you guys, it's been a pleasure to chat with you today, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your Wednesday, and we will chat with you in just a couple of days on Friday, and we'll still be in Salt Lake. So, also really quick before we finish, TIADA is coming up the 24th to the 26th, Round Rock, and we'd love to see you. If you're all there and you've listened to the show, come up and introduce yourself if we don't know you already, because we love meeting new dealers. And if you got a question, that we're more than happy to have a conversation.
Yeah. Absolutely. So we'll be broadcasting from Round Rock. We look forward to seeing many of you there in Texas. So again, thanks for tuning in.
Thanks so much, guys. Have a great rest of your day.